Hi, hello, I'm Tally, and today let's talk about thriller books that I actually liked. So if you're new here, I don't tend to read thrillers. I went through a phase of reading a lot and now I find them a little bit boring. They need to be interesting for me to enjoy them. I also find that I generally dislike domestic thrillers and I just don't go near them as a rule. But here are 12 thriller books that I really enjoyed. We're going to start with the only one on this list that I have read multiple times and watched the films that are based on it multiple times and then reread the book series yet again, and that is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. This is the first in the Millennium trilogy. There is also a additional trilogy that follows on after, and that is based on Stieg Larsson's notes because he did pass away after the initial trilogy. So this is a translated series from Swedish, yes. And it's a Nordic noir inspired trilogy. We have Mikael Blomkvist, who is a investigative journalist who has, prior to the start of this series, been in trouble for sticking his nose into things that he shouldn't be sticking his nose into. Then we also have Lisbeth Salander, who is a kind of off the grid hacker who is unfortunately under a conservatorship type dealio, and their paths cross and they kind of change each other's lives for, well, forever basically. And in the first book we follow a almost enclosed murder mystery. It takes part within a wealthy family. It's a cold case, and it takes part on a secluded island, kind of in the vibes of like We Were Liars. And then Mikael gets hired to go and work on the cold case, and Lisbeth ends up getting involved. And then books 2 and 3 deal with the fallout of book 1. I really enjoy these books. I find both characters to be very complex, interesting characters. I enjoy both films, and I do wish that the American remake had continued and done the whole trilogy, but I understand Hollywood follows where the money is. Every single one of these books, please check the content warnings before going into them, because they do have some quite graphic scenes, so it would be quite uncomfortable for a lot of people. The Old Woman with the Knife by Gu Mo. This is again a translated book, and this follows a 60-something-year-old assassin who is reached a point where she's starting to question whether her aging body is becoming a hindrance to her job. She is still an assassin. She is still a very sought after assassin. However, when she makes a mistake on one of her jobs, she finds a younger whippersnapper trying to step into her position, and she is not ready to step down. My Sister, the Serial Killer by Yinken Braithwaite. This is a interesting book in which the title pretty much says it all. We follow a young Nigerian woman, Kirode, who has a younger sister who is the most beautiful, the most charismatic sister that one could have, and she has always been the favorite. However, Ayola has some secrets. Her boyfriends keep dying, and Kurode is always called upon to deal with the aftermath. Kurode works as a nurse, and she has a big crush on one of the doctors. And when that doctor starts dating her sister, she knows the time has come for this charade to end. This is a debut, and it comes in at just over 200 pages, and it is so good you just can't stop turning the pages to find out what's going to happen next. The Appeal by Janice Hallett is the first book by Janice Hallett, but not by any means the last, that really dives into and really stretches the boundaries of what mixed media in a novel can be. The Appeal is set in a small English town where a murder has happened, and we read through all of the emails that went on between this theatre group to try and A, work out who has died, and then B, work out the who and the why for the murder. Janice Hallett then went on to write more books featuring podcasts, a novelist writing a novel and you follow along. She's really not afraid to try out different storytelling elements, and this one was absolutely fantastic. It does have a Christmas novella as a spin-off as well. As with Janice Hallett books, Murder in the Family by Cara Hunter is best consumed via audio if that is accessible to you. Murder in the Family follows a Netflix true crime show where across 6 episodes they're hoping to solve a cold case. Helming the show is Guy Howard, whose stepfather died when he was a young boy. Unfortunately, no one was ever convicted of his stepfather's murder, and so he comes together with his 2 half-sisters to try and solve the case, along with some experts and the members of the public voting on forums as well. One of our own was the first Lucinda Berry book that I read, and I did not stop there. This one, I believe, is an audio-only book in which Felicia, a single mother who is a lawyer by day and a suicide crisis hotline phone worker in the evening, takes a call that changes the course of her entire life. A young girl who is a student at the same school as her son was attacked and raped at a party, and her son is implicated in the case. I read The Family Game by Catherine Steadman, and this put me on a whirlwind of trying to consume all of the books by this author that I could find. In this particular one, Harriet Reed is about to marry into a very wealthy family, a la Ready or Not. As Harriet dreams of becoming an author, her father-in-law gives her a cassette and tells her that it is a book he has been writing on. As Harriet listens, she finds she cannot stop as it delves into a murder that her father-in-law was involved in. The Dark Future series by John Mars is absolutely compelling, so I have to put them all together. And this is set in a dystopian England, or well, dystopian world, but it's primarily based in England, in which AI and various other electronics rule everything we do, from who we can marry, whether we can have children, and who our perfect match is. This drew me in with the first book, The One, and has not let go of me since. You will notice that I have a bit of a thing for crime books, particularly if they're set up as a true crime kind of vibe. And True Crime Story by Joseph Knox really captures that. This is a meta mixed media book. Again, it's one that would be great via audio and also physical if that is accessible to you and how you read your books. In 2011, a young university student, Zoe, went missing from the university apartment block she was living in. Now in 2024, Joseph Knox decides to investigate this cold case, interviewing everyone that was related to her, her family, etc., to try and find out exactly what happened to Zoe. But the thing is, Joseph implicates himself in the case. Sisters of the Lost Nation by Nick Medina is a debut thriller with horror elements. In this, we follow a young native girl who is trying to find out why Indigenous girls are going missing on her reservation and nothing is being done about it. Working in the casino that has been built on the reservation, Anna quickly realises that money can cover up anything, including missing girls and murder. In a similar vein to Sisters of the Lost Nation, Looking for Smoke by K.A. Colbell looks at missing Indigenous girls from a tribal area, but through a YA lens. During a traditional Blackfeet giveaway, 5 teenagers are brought up to stage to take part in a giveaway which is raising awareness for another missing teenager. However, when one from the giveaway group goes missing, all 4 that are left find themselves implicated, and it begs the question, Why are girls going missing on the reservation? Unlike the previous entries, Sisters of a Lost Nation and Looking for Smoke are very much embedded in real wide issues, and they definitely raise a mirror to what is happening to Indigenous tribes across the US of A. And then finally, I have Moon of the Crusted Snow, which is the first in the White Sky Saga series. This is by Wageshig Rice, and this is a novella length story in a dystopian or like an apocalyptic future. With winter looming, a small Anishinaabe community gets cut off from the rest of the state. With the electricity down, food and water dwindling, the community finds that they need to start leaning upon each other and really looking to the way in which their elders were able to survive before all of these things such as electricity and supermarkets came into being. Fighting to maintain order, the council is struggling, and it's particularly worrying when teenagers who aren't listening start dying. Unfortunately, they then are visited by an outsider, a white man, who has his own opinion on how their community should be run. So there are 12 thriller books that I particularly enjoyed. I do have a few more that were kind of like runners up, I guess, for this list. And I also have some on my TBR that I have high expectations for. So let me know if you've read any of these, which ones I should prioritize, and let me know in the comments what your favorite thriller books are, particularly if you don't read thriller as your primary genre. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Make sure to leave a like, consider subscribing, and I will see you soon. Bye, friends. This is thriller.